Hi, my name is Enda Shirley, and I'm head of our compliance products here at Symphony AI Financial Services. Today I'm going to give you an introduction to our KYC customer due diligence product. This is all about, as the name says, knowing your customer, KYC. From onboarding to ongoing due diligence, being able to assess customers in real time with the dynamic risk scoring, being supported by holistic insights across the solution and AI-powered investigations. So what are the challenges in the KYC space? So as a financially regulated entity, you have an obligation to have a risk assessment of your customer. This can often be inefficient and create manual overhead and cost ineffective programs. Then, on top of that, while you're managing things manually and potentially manual data sources, you have to manage ever-changing regulatory updates. This can lead to rapidly increasing costs, which are really hard to manage and just hard to keep a hold of. Then when you consider things like you have business units that may exist in different jurisdictions within the world, or just different business units for your operating model, you might have siloed data, which is also hard to manage and needs to be factored into this whole entire process, whereby you still have that obligation to know your customer's risk and have a clear risk assessment associated to your customer, but the poor data that you're doing this in, and the governed models that are tricky to operate within, are causing you more and more challenges. And balancing that robust KYC process ultimately eventually ends up impacting on your customer experience, which is what you really don't want. You don't want to impact on your end customers. This is where we step in terms of technology. We can solve all of these challenges by providing a holistic risk assessment for your subjects, be they your partners you're doing business with and onboarding, real customers, or actual businesses, or the associated relationships between the two. We'll provide a connected set of intelligence for a holistic risk profile for real subjects or businesses. You'll simplify the governance associated to all this. Remember, around 97% of customers are always straight through onboarding. I and you have a risk profile associated to any financial entity that we're doing business with, and the simplified governance associated to that can't be underestimated, yet is required. We need that audited record for each and every customer, and that's where we step in and provide some real key support. When the investigations are required, so for enhanced due diligence for high risk or potentially extra high risk customers, we empower fast detections, providing key clear information as to the source and point of the risk, and providing the ability for the investigator to take action in a seamless fashion, ultimately facilitating seamless onboarding for your prospects, and then also seamless management of those folks you do business with on an ongoing KYC basis. Taking this up means organizations can fully automate their onboarding processes and plug this solution right in at the point where they're collecting data from the customer to risk assess them and ensure they do not present any friction during the onboarding process, or simply when they're reaching out to that customer to collect more information during the ongoing due diligence, during the life cycle of your relationship with your customer. We can facilitate either via our own IP, our own technology, or via some of our really important partnerships, the collection of that data in as early a stage as the questionnaire, collecting the information and presenting it through for risk assessment, the identification, verification, document collection, and then of course really importantly name screening. It's understanding whether someone is a sanction or a PEP, and then presenting that holistic risk assessment for your prospecting so you can make that rapid decision or throughout that life cycle of the risk assessment. The connected view of intelligence then continues. So when you have your customers on board, you have to do various elements of risk mitigation and periodic reviews associated to your customers. These can be manual, or with our technology they can be event and perpetually driven, such that your technology is automatically linked into updated screening. If there is an appearance of one of your subjects on a sanction or PEP list or adverse media, they will be risk assessed, and in line with that, their risk assessment will elevate. In transaction monitoring, payment fraud are the same, so the behavioral profile associated with the customer is assessed on an ongoing basis, and if is there anomalous behavior or behavior which suggests your customer is behaving outside of their expected profiles, your profile will increase. Also, really important for us to connect out to third-party data sources to clarify things like the ultimate beneficial ownership structures. It is, of course, an obligation of companies to present their beneficial ownership structure, but folks seeking to operate in nefarious activities are, of course, going to obfuscate some data, and we can use third-party data sources to ensure that they're remaining as honest as you need them to be for a KYC program. When all this information is brought through to the investigation, and again, when you're focusing in on your enhanced due diligence and your high-risk customers, we have a significant enhancements that can be gained within the operational flow of the investigations. Investigations based on your existing systems or manual systems can see benefits of at least 40%. You can actually seek to eliminate level 1 triage by applying automation and intelligence and presenting information into level 2 and overlaying automated workflows and the automation of your data collection all across your KYC risk program. And all of these things come together in terms of the full holistic picture with that audited workflow. Focus on your operational governance, your audit governance that you have with your regulator, and these things are managed for you in an automated fashion with our KYC solution, and of course, as is required, can be presented through to the local FIU as a suspicious activity or transaction report. Just a holistic view of what we've been talking about here. This dynamic score associated to the customer takes its inputs from various relevant and required sources of data, such as also the important KYC information, the transactional behavior, whether you're appearing on a sanctioned PEP or adverse media list, your payment fraud risk, anomalous detection that will be caught based on machine learned behavior, which will overlay all of these items to understand whether your customer is performing as expected, and then of course introducing external variables to ensure that we enrich the information that's been provided to provide the most holistic and accurate view of risk. Entity resolution is also key in this point, where we have a single subject that we're risk assessing against. So rather than actually risk assessing against a disparate set of sources and potentially missing risk, or of course introducing operational costs, we will resolve that subject together and risk assess really accurately and really cost effective way as the data is coming in and on an ongoing basis. The user interface, our modern user interface, is our Sensa Investigation Hub, is now also empowered with generative AI supporting technology. Your investigations will be intelligently summarized for you. It'll be really clear as to why the risk assessment has been presented to you, and there's some machine learning, some intelligent machine learning powering that in the background, but your investigators access the solution and have a clear understanding as to why the investigation they're looking at is being presented to them. And then they can really, in natural language, ask questions and interrogate the risk to get them through to a rapid outcome in terms of their investigation. And this is all now part of our Sensa Investigation Hub, where your key subject-centric investigations will take place. To further drill down on some of these now generative AI supporting capabilities, there's a web search capability. We talked a little bit about the querying tool, so you have the Copilot which will sit alongside all your investigations, and you can interrogate transactional behavior, KYC risk. You can also augment what is the name screening adverse media searches with web searches and have intelligently generative AI summarized. You don't necessarily need to navigate your way around all sources within the web. You put in your search term, get your response, and then that will be intelligently summarized for you, so you can either augment and assess whether that subject has adverse media or not. And then information coming through in documentation will be intelligently summarized, and all information that is taken in within the investigation, which potentially could go through to a disclosure, will be summarized together in using generative AI, so automatically created for you, saving you the time that we know is required to diligently put all of the information around your case and investigation into one place to present it through to your suspicious activity report. And all of this information, from an AI perspective, any interaction that you have with these use cases and these problem solving capabilities is audited in a really explained way so that we can align with all of your AI, all of your governance activity. Previously mentioned around the entity resolution and the key element associated to that. So, as a visual aid, we have network analytics supporting everything around KYC also. Our Links Explorer capability in Sensa Investigation Hub visualizes the relationships of your subject. When you want to know your customer, it's also important that you know they're related, close associates. It's also important you know if there's disparate data sitting around the system that is linked to that subject, be it the same subject or a related subject for nefarious reasons. And our network analytics solution allows a visualization of that and drilling down right into the network to understand whether there is a connected risk associated to your profile, because it is absolutely critical that if there's risk happening on the periphery of the subject that you're investigating, that you need to take that into account when you're risk assessing and doing business with these individuals or businesses. To reiterate, we've got real-time onboarding and risk assessing, providing a holistic view of risk for your customer. Event and perpetually based triggers associated to this scoring, so you don't need to have an overemphasis and focus on periodic reviews. When the investigation happens, you have generative AI powered investigations and various degrees of use cases, which I was explaining to you, to really expedite that investigation. So when you're investigating those high risk customers, you can understand quickly, investigate, and have your outcome very quickly in a really explained way, and real big support in terms of the SAR filing as well. And all of this then comes with all of the elements that are presented into this risk assessment. All the categories associated to the customer's risk profile are adjustable, manageable, and flexible based on your appetite for risk and based on your operational and regulatory risk requirements. Thank you very much.